Hello, Cougars. It's Miss Williamson, and I'm here with the final part of our community projects, which is our presentation. So you will receive your own copy of this new slide deck. You can see here on the left all of the slides that we have. There are a total of 16 of them. Now, that feels like a lot of slides, but there's actually very few that you have to write on. A lot of the slides are organization slides or things like the title slide here. All right, so we're going to start here. So the title slide, I've written my community project. Of course, you can click on that, and if you want to change the name of it to what your project was called, you can do that. Then you're going to click here and type your first and last name. Slide number 2 is the table of contents slide. A table of contents really helps your audience to understand what's coming up, how long the presentation will be, and it kind of helps the viewer organize their brain to know what to expect. So when you show this slide, you're not going to change anything here, but you would say something like, I will have 6 slides that I will talk about. I'm going to talk about my community, my goal, my steps, my action, my reflection, and my growth. Okay, so we're finally getting to a slide where you need to now do something. So this is the slide about community. So I have the directions written here for you. It says here, you're going to write about the community you chose to help. And I've given you some questions to think about in your answers. So what community did you pick? And why did you pick this community? And what did you learn about the community during your research? And what did you learn about what the community needed? So if it were me, I would go ahead and just leave my questions there and I would start to type my answers in. So maybe I would say, I chose to help the school community. I chose this community because Bancroft is an important part of my life. And what did I learn about the community during my research? I learned that the staff doesn't have a staff appreciation week. The teachers do, but the other staff does not. And what did I learn about what the community needed? I learned that the staff needed to be recognized. They would like to receive thanks from kids. And I misspelled that word, so let me fix that real quick. There we go. Now, I don't need the questions in my presentation, so after I've written my answers, I'm going to come back and delete what was previously written there by Miss Williamson. So now I've got my answer. And if I would like those words to be a little bigger, I can highlight them all, and then I can increase the font size. Makes it a little bit easier to read during my presentation. Okay? Going to slide 2, I'm going to talk about my goal. So what I set out to do. And again, I have questions for you here. I have sentence starters hidden down here in the notes. And I would do the same thing. I would come in, I would click, and I would try to answer those 3 questions using the sentence starters if I need to, and then deleting out the questions after I'm finished answering these. Okay, so that's goal. Then I'm going to move on to the steps. What are the steps I took? Don't list every little thing you did. That's not interesting or engaging during a presentation, but walk us through the process. What were the big things you had to do? And don't be afraid here to mention things that went well or things that didn't. Because remember, failures are good learning experiences. Sometimes you learn more from a failure than you do from a success. So feel free to really be honest at this point. Let's say you've now have gotten to the point on the steps where you're like, I need 2 slides here. You know, I need to write a lot of information. So here's a quick reminder about how you can duplicate a slide. You come and click on the slide just like it's clicked on now. It's got that kind of yellowish orange box around it. And then I right click or double finger click depending on the computer I'm using. and I say duplicate slide, and now I have two of them. 8 and 9 are now identical. So maybe I start writing on 8, I run out of room, so I start writing on slide 9. You never want to fill your screen up with so much information that your audience is getting lost in all of the words. You want to try to keep it short. Okay, it's better to split it up than it is to put too much info on one screen. Let's say I decide I don't need that extra slide. I click on the one I don't need and I click delete. All right, next thing I have is my action. It's what I actually did for my project. And just tell us about it. Tell us what you did, what you achieved, who you helped. Again, sentence starters hidden down here in the notes. There's a second slide for action for pictures. If you have any pictures of you doing your project, or you made a poster, or you made something, like maybe you made a video, you can insert that into this slide here. And if you don't have any of that, you can always delete this slide. So let's say I have a picture, I can come up and I can say, insert image, upload from my computer, and I can put it right into this slide. Next up is reflection. So what went well and what I would change. So my questions are what went well, what did not go well. And here you're going to think about, did you reach that goal that you originally set out? Or did you have to change it? Did you have to do something different? And talk about why. It's not a negative thing if you had to change your goal. It actually shows that in the moment you were adapting to what was happening, right? I was going to do this. I had to change my mind. I had to change it to this. And talk about what you learned from that, okay? Because the reflection is you thinking back on how the project went so that in the future, if you had another project, you would learn from it. Then the last part, which is my favorite part, is how did you grow as a learner? So what was your growth during this project? So what learner profile traits did you work on? Remember, you can always go back and look at that lesson. I believe from memory, it's lesson 3. And then how will developing those traits help you as you move on to the next grade, or you move on to high school, as you have to do future projects? How might it be helpful to be a communicator, or open-minded, or a risk taker? Then there's a thank you slide at the end, which lets your audience know, I'm wrapping this up. I am finished. Thank you for attending my presentation. So now I'm going to show you a sample presentation so you can see what a complete presentation looks like. Hi, I'm here to present my community project about teacher appreciation. Today I'm going to talk about 6 things. I'm going to talk about my community, my goal, the steps I took, my action, my reflection, and my growth. So first, I'll talk about the community. So I chose to help teachers for Teacher Appreciation Week. And I chose this because my teachers are important to me. They work really hard for me, so I wanted to show them my appreciation. So I did some research on the teachers, and I learned that teachers mostly like to get handmade stuff from students, like cards or poems or notes. And I also learned that teachers like coffee and candy. My goal was to write a thank you card for each of my teachers and attach a piece of candy, because I thought coffee was too expensive. I couldn't afford that for every teacher. So I wrote this goal because it seemed like something I could achieve. I have 8 teachers, and I thought I could make 8 cards and then buy 8 small pieces of candy to attach to the card. I didn't want to do all the teachers in the school because I don't know all of the teachers in the school. And then this was important to me because my teachers worked so hard for me, especially this year, and I wanted to thank them. So the steps. First, I realized that I wouldn't actually be able to deliver real cards because I'm still at home doing distance learning. So I had to do some more research and find out how I could do a thank you card that could be just emailed to my teacher. And I asked my advisory teacher, and she told me about a website called Canva. So I went on there and I found a thank you card, and I made a copy for each of my teachers. And then I wrote like what the card should say, like a template. But then I changed it a little bit for each teacher. So like my math teacher got something slightly different from like my English teacher or my art teacher. So my final action was sending virtual cards to my teachers. And I do feel like I made a difference by letting my teachers know I really appreciate them. And a few of my teachers even wrote back and said thank you and that they really appreciated getting the card. And here's an example of one of the cards that I sent. This one I sent to my art teacher, Miss Beauchamp. And so I said, I really appreciate all the hard work you do to teach me art. Your class is really fun and I've learned a lot this year. I like that you're always willing to help me during office hours. I hope I have art again next year. So that's just one example, but I sent a card to each of my teachers. So my reflection. I think my project went really well. The teachers appreciated the cards. I felt proud when I sent them. I really liked when they emailed me back. The thing that did not go as planned was I originally thought I was going to be able to give them like an actual card, but then I had to change it. And I thought I was going to be able to give them candy, but I had to change that. I do think if I had not been at home, if I had been at school, I could have done that. So maybe next year that's something I could do. So I didn't reach my exact original goal, but my project was very close. And my growth, I worked most on being a communicator because I had to email the teachers, I had to write the card, so I was writing a lot. But I also worked on being open-minded. Like when I had to change my project idea, I had to like not let that like frustrate me and like want to give up. And I think those traits will help me when I have to work on projects in the future, especially with other people. Because like if I'm working in a group, I have to be a communicator to work with my group members. And I have to be open-minded to listen to their ideas. And then I do think that doing a community project will help me in the future because now that I've done a big project, I know how to take this big project and break it into smaller parts. Thank you. That's my community project.